Just clean around it, Janitor. Don't touch anything important. Major Marcus Stevens smirks as he watches Aisha Johnson push her cleaning cart past the gleaming F-22 Raptor. She wears the same gray uniform she's worn for 10 years, invisible to everyone who matters on Edwards Air Force Base. But Stevens notices something the others don't. The way her eyes scan the aircraft's control surfaces, how her fingers unconsciously trace flight patterns in the air. What they don't know could change everything. Because in exactly 43 minutes, when Hurricane Delta's 180-mile-per-hour winds threaten to destroy everything on this base, when their best pilot lies unconscious in a hospital bed, when children's lives hang in the balance, this janitor will climb into that cockpit. And when she does, she'll reveal a secret that's been hidden for a decade. A secret that will leave everyone speechless. Stay with me. You need to hear this story. 4:00 a.m. The alarm clock's shrill cry pierces the darkness of Aisha's small apartment near Edwards Air Force Base. She moves with military precision. Shower, coffee, breakfast prep. In the next room, 12-year-old Maya sleeps peacefully, her walls covered with fighter jet posters and astronaut photos. "Morning, baby girl," Aisha whispers, gently shaking her daughter awake. Maya's eyes flutter open, bright with dreams. "Mom, I had the coolest dream. I was flying an F-35 doing barrel rolls through clouds." Maya stretches, her excitement infectious even at dawn. Aisha's smile falters for just a microsecond. "That sounds amazing, sweetheart. Maybe someday." But as Maya chatters about her aerospace club meeting, Aisha stares out the window at the base's runway lights. Something flickers behind her eyes, knowledge, yearning, pain. By 5:30 a.m., Aisha's walking through Edwards' main gate, badge scanning with a familiar beep. The security guard, Tom, waves without looking up. She's been invisible here for so long she might as well be part of the infrastructure. The hangar smells of jet fuel and metal polish. Aisha pushes her cart past rows of million-dollar aircraft, F-16 Fighting Falcons, F-22 Raptors, experimental jets that don't officially exist. Young pilots swagger past in their flight suits, call signs embroidered on their chests. Maverick, Phoenix, Razor. They don't see her. They never have. But Aisha sees everything. When Lieutenant Jackson struggles with his pre-flight checklist near an F-16, Aisha slows her cleaning. He's miscalculating fuel consumption for high-altitude maneuvers. The error could cost him precious minutes in an emergency. Her hand tightens on the mop handle. "Excuse me," she says quietly. Jackson barely glances up. "Yeah? Your fuel calculation. You might want to check the altitude-to-consumption ratio again." He frowns, looks at his tablet, recalculates. His eyes widen. "How did you—" But Aisha's already moving away, pushing her cart toward the next section. Jackson stares after her, confused. This happens more than anyone realizes. A loose bolt she tightens while cleaning. A hydraulic pressure gauge she adjusts with a casual touch. Small fixes that could prevent catastrophic failures. In the break room, she overhears Captain Williams briefing his squadron about weather patterns over the Mojave. He gets the wind shear calculations wrong. Aisha's jaw clenches, but she says nothing. She learned long ago that speaking up only brings unwanted attention. The kind of attention that destroyed her life once before. During lunch, Aisha sits alone, watching the flight line through rain-streaked windows. A formation of F-16s practices touch-and-go landings. The lead pilot pulls up too sharply on his third approach, showing off for the ground crew. Aisha shakes her head, knowing he's stressing the airframe unnecessarily. Her phone buzzes. A text from Maya. "Mom, Mrs. Peterson showed us a documentary about the first black female fighter pilots. Did you know only 67 have ever flown combat missions? I'm going to be number 68. Aisha stares at the message until her vision blurs. She types back, "You can be anything you want, baby. Never let anyone tell you different." But her fingers hover over the send button. Because she knows what the world does to black women who dare to fly too high. She knows because she lived it. That afternoon, while polishing the canopy of an F-22, Aisha catches her reflection in the curved glass. For a moment, she sees herself as she once was. Lieutenant Colonel Aisha Ghost Johnson, one of the Air Force's most decorated pilots. The woman who developed flight techniques still used in combat today. The woman who saved 127 lives across 15 missions. The woman who doesn't exist anymore. She turns away from the reflection and continues cleaning. Just another invisible janitor in a world of visible heroes. But outside, storm clouds are gathering on the horizon. And sometimes, storms have a way of revealing what's been hidden beneath the surface. What Aisha doesn't know yet is that in less than 2 hours, those storm clouds will force her to choose between remaining invisible and saving everyone she's learned to care about, including Maya. 2:47 p.m. The base's emergency alert system erupts with a bone-chilling wail that cuts through the desert air. Red lights flash in every hangar as personnel freeze mid-conversation. Attention Edwards Air Force Base. Hurricane Delta has intensified to Category 5. All aircraft must be evacuated within 6 hours. This is not a drill. Aisha drops her cleaning supplies. Category 5. She's seen what those winds can do. 180 miles per hour of pure destruction. Every plane on this base represents billions in taxpayer money and years of technological advancement. More importantly, if they can't evacuate the aircraft, they can't launch rescue operations for civilians caught in the storm's path. The hangar explodes into controlled chaos. Pilots sprint toward their assigned aircraft while ground crews prep for the fastest turnaround in base history. Aisha watches from the shadows as Colonel Martinez, the base commander, appears on the flight line, his face grim. "Where's Captain Williams?" Martinez barks into his radio. Static. Then a voice crackles back. "Sir, Captain Williams was in a traffic accident en route to base. He's unconscious at Antelope Valley Hospital. ETA unknown." Martinez's face goes white. Williams was their lead pilot, the one coordinating the entire evacuation. Without him, they're flying blind into a hurricane. "How many pilots do we have operational?" Martinez demands. "3 confirmed, sir. But we need 4 minimum to safely evacuate all aircraft. The weather window is closing fast." Aisha feels her heart rate spike. She knows those 3 pilots, Johnson, Rodriguez, and Chen. Good pilots, but young. None of them have experience with storm flying, especially not in formation through hurricane-force winds. The base's meteorologist approaches Martinez with a tablet showing satellite imagery. The hurricane's eye wall is a perfect spiral of death, moving faster than predicted. "Colonel, the window's even smaller than we thought. Wind speeds are already hitting 160 at the storm's edge. If we don't launch in the next 4 hours, we won't be able to launch at all." Martinez runs his hand through his gray hair. 30 years in the Air Force, and he's never faced odds like this. 4 planes, 3 pilots, and a hurricane that could destroy everything they've built. That's when he notices Aisha standing near Hangar Bay 7, her cleaning cart forgotten. Something about her posture catches his attention. The way she's studying the aircraft lineup, calculating distances and approach vectors with her eyes. "You!" Martinez calls out. "Janitor!" Aisha freezes. After 10 years of invisibility, being noticed feels like standing naked under floodlights. "You work around these birds every day, right? Ever notice anything about how they handle in bad weather?" It's an innocent question, but for Aisha, it's a loaded gun pointed directly at the secret she's spent a decade protecting. Because she doesn't just know how these aircraft handle in bad weather, she knows because she's flown them through hell and back. Aisha's mouth goes dry. Colonel Martinez waits for her answer, his steel-gray eyes boring into hers. Around them, the controlled chaos of storm preparation continues. Pilots running pre-flight checks, ground crews fueling aircraft, meteorologists tracking Delta's deadly approach. I just clean around them, sir," Aisha stammers, gripping her mop handle like a lifeline. "I don't know anything about flying." But even as the words leave her mouth, her eyes betray her. She's unconsciously tracking the wind patterns visible through the hangar's open doors, calculating approach angles, noting how the younger pilots are making subtle errors in their storm prep. Martinez studies her face. Something doesn't add up. What's your name? Aisha Johnson, sir. Johnson? Martinez frowns. The name triggers a distant memory, but he can't place it. How long have you worked here? 10 years, sir. Before Martinez can probe deeper, Lieutenant Rodriguez approaches, his flight suit already soaked with nervous sweat. Colonel, we've got a problem. The F-16 in Base 7 has a hydraulic pressure warning. Ground crew can't figure out what's wrong. Aisha's head snaps toward Base 7. She knows that aircraft intimately. She's cleaned it hundreds of times, noticed the gradual wear on the hydraulic coupling near the landing gear assembly. It's not a major issue, but in hurricane conditions, even minor problems become deadly. Sir, Rodriguez continues, without that bird, we're down to 3 operational aircraft. We can't evacuate everything. Martinez's jaw tightens. How long to fix it? Ground crew estimates 2 hours minimum. We don't have 2 hours. From the corner of her eye, Aisha watches Major Marcus Stevens emerge from the briefing room. Even after 10 years, seeing him makes her stomach clench. Stevens commanded her squadron in Afghanistan, back when she was Lieutenant Colonel Ghost Johnson, back before he destroyed her career with lies and racism disguised as performance reviews. Stevens hasn't changed. Still the same arrogant swagger, still the same cold blue eyes that see people like her as inferior. He spots Aisha and his lips curl into a familiar smirk. Well, well, if it isn't our dedicated cleaning lady, Stevens says loudly enough for others to hear. Still playing with mops instead of flight sticks, Johnson? The hangar goes quiet. Several pilots look confused by Stevens' tone, but Aisha understands perfectly. He knows exactly who she is. He's always known. I don't know what you mean, sir, Aisha replies, but her voice wavers. Oh, I think you do. Stevens steps closer, his voice dropping to a whisper only she can hear. I remember everything, Ghost, including why you'll never fly again. The nickname hits like a physical blow. Ghost, her call sign from when she was untouchable in the sky, when her innovative flight techniques saved countless lives, when she was somebody who mattered. Martinez watches this exchange with growing confusion. Stevens, do you know this woman? Stevens shrugs. Just another janitor, Colonel. Nothing important. But Aisha's composure finally cracks. Not at Stevens' insult, but at what she overhears on Rodriguez's radio. Edwards Elementary is requesting immediate evacuation. 43 children trapped as the storm approaches. Buses can't get through the flooding. 43 children, including Maya. Aisha's hands start trembling. Her daughter's school sits directly in the hurricane's path in a flood zone that becomes impassable during major storms. If they can't evacuate the aircraft, they can't launch rescue helicopters. Colonel, she says suddenly, her voice stronger now. The hydraulic issue in Bay 7, it's the coupling near the main landing gear. 15-minute fix if you know what you're doing. Everyone stares at her. Martinez raises an eyebrow. How could you possibly know that? Aisha looks around the hangar, at the confused pilots, at Stevens' mocking expression, at the aircraft that need to fly to save her daughter and dozens of other children, because I've been watching that plane for 3 years. The coupling's been wearing down gradually. I just noticed things. Rodriguez checks his technical manual on his tablet, then looks up in amazement. She's right. The symptoms match exactly. Interesting, Martinez says slowly. What else do you notice, Ms. Johnson? This is the moment. The crossroads where Aisha must choose between the safety of anonymity and the lives that hang in the balance, including Maya's. Stevens senses danger. Colonel, we don't have time for this. The woman's a janitor. Let's focus on real solutions. Actually, Martinez says, his eyes never leaving Aisha's face, I'm starting to think Ms. Johnson might be full of surprises. Tell me, What do you know about storm flying? Aisha closes her eyes. 10 years of hiding. 10 years of being invisible, safe, forgotten. But her daughter's face appears in her mind, along with 42 other children who will die if these planes don't fly. When she opens her eyes, something has changed. The scared janitor is gone, replaced by someone else entirely. I know that Lieutenant Rodriguez is calculating his fuel load wrong for high-altitude storm penetration. I know Chen's pre-flight checklist missed a critical flap adjustment. And I know that if you try to fly through Delta's eye wall with current wind patterns, you'll lose at least 2 aircraft. The hangar falls silent except for the howling wind outside. And how, Martinez asks quietly, would a janitor know that? The silence stretches like a taut wire ready to snap. Every pilot, every ground crew member, every technician in the hangar waits for Aisha's answer. Outside, Hurricane Delta's winds grow stronger, rattling the massive hangar doors. Aisha looks at Colonel Martinez, then at the young pilots who will die if they fly unprepared into that storm. She thinks of Maya, trapped with 42 other children as floodwaters rise around their school. 10 years of hiding ends with 4 words. Because I can fly. Stephen's face goes white. Colonel, this is ridiculous. You're not seriously considering— Shut up, Stevens. Martinez steps closer to Aisha, studying her face with new intensity. Explain. Now. Aisha's voice grows steadier with each word. I'm former Air Force. Flew F-16s and F-22s. I know storm flying because I've done it, multiple times. What was your rank? A pause. Then, quietly, Lieutenant Colonel. The hangar erupts in whispers. Lieutenant colonels don't become janitors, not unless something went very, very wrong. Martinez holds up his hand for silence. When did you serve? 2010 to 2014. 3 combat deployments. Call sign? Another pause, longer this time. Stevens is frantically shaking his head, but Aisha has crossed a line she can't uncross. Ghost. The effect is immediate and electric. Several of the older ground crew members gasp. Rodriguez drops his tablet. Even Chen, normally unflappable, stares with his mouth open. Everyone in military aviation knows the name Ghost. The pilot who developed the silent running technique for radar evasion. The one who saved an entire convoy in Afghanistan by flying through a sandstorm that grounded every other aircraft. The legend who vanished from service without explanation. Jesus Christ, whispers Master Sergeant Kelly, a 30-year veteran. You're the ghost? The one who pulled off the Kandahar miracle? Aisha nods once, sharply. The mask is off now, and there's no going back. Martinez's demeanor completely changes. He straightens to attention, not mocking, but genuinely respectful. Ma'am, with all due respect, what the hell are you doing pushing a mop? Before Aisha can answer, Stevens steps forward, desperation in his voice. Colonel, I can explain. There were irregularities in her service record, questions about her fitness for duty. That's why she's not flying anymore. The lie hangs in the air like smoke. Aisha's hands clench into fists, 10 years of suppressed rage threatening to explode. But she forces herself to stay calm. Maya needs her focused, not angry. Colonel, she says quietly, we can settle old scores later. Right now you need 4 pilots and you have 3. I'm offering to be your 4th. Martinez glances at the storm tracking display. Delta's outer bands are already hitting the base. They have maybe 3 hours before the eye wall arrives. Ma'am, I need to know. Can you still fly? It's been 10 years. For the first time since this conversation began, Aisha allows herself a small smile. Sir, you never forget how to fly. You just forget how to trust the people around you. Her eyes lock with Stevens, and the message is clear. I remember everything you did to me. But right now, children's lives matter more than revenge. Martinez makes his decision. Rodriguez, Get her a flight suit. Kelly, prep the F-16 in Bay 7. Fix that hydraulic coupling she identified. We launch in 90 minutes. As the hangar springs back into motion, Aisha stands frozen for a moment. After 10 years of invisibility, she's about to climb back into the sky that was once her kingdom. Ma'am? Rodriguez holds out a flight suit, hesitant. It's an honor to fly with you. Aisha takes the suit. Military green, patches for Edwards Air Force Base, captain's bars she hasn't worn in a decade. The fabric feels both foreign and familiar in her hands. She looks through the hangar doors at the darkening sky, where Hurricane Delta waits like a dragon made of wind and rain. Somewhere in that maelstrom, her daughter needs rescuing. The honor, she says, unzipping the suit, is mine. As she heads toward the changing room, Master Sergeant Kelly calls out, "Ghost, welcome back to the war." But this isn't the same war she left. This time, she's fighting for something more precious than pride or career or recognition. This time, she's fighting for Maya. Aisha emerges from the changing room transformed. The flight suit fits like it was made for her, muscle memory guiding every zipper and strap. But her hands shake slightly as she adjusts the helmet. 10 years is a long time to be away from something that once defined you. Lieutenant Rodriguez approaches first, his earlier nervousness replaced by something close to awe. "Ma'am, I've read about the Kandahar miracle in flight school. Is it true you flew through zero visibility for 40 minutes straight?" 37 minutes, Aisha corrects. And it wasn't a miracle. It was math, physics, and a lot of luck. Lieutenant Chen joins them, his usual stoic demeanor cracked by curiosity. The silent running technique. How did you develop it? Before Aisha can answer, Stevens appears beside the F-16 in Bay 7, his face a mask of cold fury. "Enough hero worship. We have a mission to fly, not a nostalgia tour to conduct." The young pilots instinctively step back, but Aisha holds her ground. She's faced down enemy fire. Marcus Stevens doesn't scare her anymore. "You're right, Major," she says calmly. "Let's talk mission parameters." Colonel Martinez approaches with a tablet displaying satellite imagery. The Hurricane's eye wall is a perfect spiral of destruction, moving faster than any computer model predicted. "Here's what we're facing," Martinez begins. Delta's sustained winds are now 185 miles per hour, gusts up to 220. We need to evacuate 12 aircraft total, 4 F-16s, 3 F-22s, 2 experimental birds, and 3 support aircraft. Aisha studies the weather data, her mind automatically calculating wind shear patterns and pressure differentials. "What's our flight path to the safe zone?" Travis Air Force Base in California, 340 miles northwest. Problem is, we have to punch through the storm's outer bands to get there. Rodriguez looks nervous. "Ma'am, none of us have ever flown formation through hurricane conditions." "I have," Aisha says simply. "Here's what we're going to do." She moves to the tactical display board, her movements crisp and professional. The scared janitor is completely gone, replaced by someone who commanded respect in the world's most dangerous airspace. "We'll fly in diamond formation. I'll take lead, Rodriguez on my right wing, Chen on my left, Stevens bringing up the rear. Altitude 25,000 feet to avoid the worst turbulence." Stevens scoffs. "You think you can just waltz back in here and take command? I outrank you now, Johnson. I'm mission commander." "Actually," Martinez interjects, "Ghost outranked you 10 years ago, and experience trumps current rank in my book. She's mission commander." The hangar falls silent. Stevens' face turns red, but he can't argue with a direct order from the base commander. Aisha continues as if nothing happened. "We'll use a modified version of silent running, flying in the pressure shadows between wind cells. It requires precise timing and absolute trust in your wingman." "Trust?" Stevens laughs bitterly. "From the pilot who abandoned her squadron?" The accusation hits like a physical blow. Several people gasp, including Rodriguez and Chen. This is clearly news to them. Aisha's voice goes dangerously quiet. I never abandoned anyone, Marcus, and you know it. Do I? Because my report clearly stated, your report was fiction designed to cover your own incompetence. Aisha steps closer, her eyes blazing. You want to do this now, in front of everyone? Martinez senses the tension escalating. Enough. We don't have time for personal grievances. Stevens, you'll follow Ghost's lead or you'll stay on the ground. Your choice. Stevens looks around the hangar, seeing only disapproving faces. He's trapped, and he knows it. Fine, he mutters. But when this goes sideways, remember who warned you. Master Sergeant Kelly interrupts the standoff. Ma'am, your bird's ready. Fix that hydraulic coupling like you predicted. Took exactly 15 minutes. Aisha nods, then turns back to the pilots. Listen carefully. Hurricane flying isn't about fighting the storm, it's about dancing with it. You feel the pressure changes in your bones. Anticipate the wind shear before your instruments register it. She demonstrates with her hands, showing flight patterns that look more like choreography than combat maneuvers. The key is staying in formation no matter what. If you lose visual contact, maintain heading and trust your instruments. If someone goes down, the mission continues. We can't save everyone if we all die trying to save one. Rodriguez raises his hand. Ma'am, what about the rescue operation? The children at Edwards Elementary? Aisha's expression softens slightly. Once our aircraft are secure at Travis, we'll launch search and rescue helicopters. The school has emergency protocols. They'll hold until we can reach them. But privately, she's calculating time windows in her head. The school's emergency generators will fail within 6 hours. Rising floodwaters will make helicopter rescue impossible after that. Maya and 42 other children are running out of time. All right, Martinez announces. Final weather briefing in 10 minutes, then we launch. Questions? Chen speaks up hesitantly. Ma'am, I've heard rumors about a technique called ghost flight. Something you developed in Afghanistan. Is that what we'll be using? The hangar goes quiet. Ghost flight is legend. A flight pattern so advanced that only 3 pilots in the world have ever successfully executed it. The technique allows aircraft to become virtually invisible to both radar and visual detection by exploiting atmospheric pressure differentials. Aisha hesitates. Ghost flight isn't just advanced. It's dangerous. One small miscalculation, and the entire formation could be torn apart by wind shear. Ghost flight requires years of training and perfect synchronization between pilots, she says carefully. We don't have years. We have minutes. But could it get us through the storm faster? Rodriguez presses. Aisha looks at the weather display showing Delta's approach. The hurricane's outer bands are already hitting the base, making standard evacuation procedures increasingly dangerous. Ghost flight could cut our flight time by 40%, she admits. But if anyone makes a mistake, we die, Chen finishes. All of us. Stevens sees his opportunity. See? She's already planning to get us killed with her experimental nonsense. This is exactly what happened in Afghanistan. What happened in Afghanistan, Aisha says coldly, is that I saved 127 lives using techniques that people like you said were impossible. Master Sergeant Kelly, who's been listening intently, steps forward. Ma'am, I was ground crew for your squadron in Kandahar. I saw what you could do. If you think ghost flight can save those kids faster, then I trust your judgment. Rodriguez nods agreement. Me too, ma'am. I'd rather take the risk with you than play it safe without you. Even Chen, normally cautious, shows determination. If it gets us to those children faster, I'm willing to try. All eyes turn to Stevens. He looks around the hangar, realizing he's completely isolated. His fellow pilots trust the legend more than they trust him. Fine, he spits. But when we're all dead, don't say I didn't warn you. Aisha studies each face, seeing fear mixed with determination. These young pilots are about to attempt something that pushes the boundaries of what's possible in aviation. But sometimes, impossible is exactly what the situation demands. All right, she says finally. We'll use a modified ghost flight pattern, but understand, This technique requires absolute precision. One mistake by anyone endangers everyone. The meteorologist approaches with updated storm data. Ma'am, Delta's eye wall will hit the base in 90 minutes. If you're going to launch, it has to be in the next hour. Aisha looks out at the darkening sky, where lightning illuminates massive storm clouds approaching like an army of titans. Somewhere beyond that wall of destruction, her daughter waits. Then we launch in 30 minutes, she decides. Time to show Hurricane Delta what the ghost can do. But as the pilots disperse for final preparations, Aisha catches her reflection in an aircraft window. For just a moment, she sees not the confident commander she's projecting, but the scared woman who's been hiding for 10 years. Because there's something she hasn't told them about ghost flight. Something that makes it even more dangerous than they realize. It's never been successfully executed in hurricane conditions. Not even by her. 20 minutes until launch. Aisha sits in the cockpit of her F-16, running through pre-flight checks with muscle memory that never died. Her hands move across controls she hasn't touched in a decade, but every switch, every gauge, every system responds to her touch like greeting an old friend. Ghost Leader, this is Edward's control. Martinez's voice crackles through her headset. We've got an updated situation report. Go ahead, Control. Edwards Elementary School flooding is worse than expected. Water's rising faster due to a dam breach upstream. Emergency generators are failing. We're looking at maybe 4 hours before the building becomes completely inaccessible. 4 hours, not 6. Aisha's blood runs cold. Maya's school is running out of time even faster than they thought. Understood, Control. Ghost Leader, there's more. Martinez's voice carries a strange tone. I've been reviewing classified files, trying to understand exactly who we have flying this mission. I found something you need to know. Aisha's stomach drops. Control, we don't have time for... Ma'am, you didn't just develop the silent running technique. According to these files, you're also the architect of ghost flight, phantom formation, and something called atmospheric pressure manipulation flight pattern. The cockpit falls silent except for the hum of electronics. Through her headset, she can hear Rodriguez, Chen, and Stevens listening from their own aircraft. Martinez continues, his voice filled with growing amazement. Ma'am, these documents show you didn't just save 127 lives in Afghanistan. You revolutionized military aviation. Every advanced flight technique used by NATO forces in the last decade, you invented them. Control, you're not just Ghost, ma'am. You're the architect of modern combat aviation. The Pentagon has been using your innovations for 10 years without most pilots even knowing where they came from. Rodriguez's voice breaks through on the squadron channel, filled with awe. Ma'am, is that true? Did you really invent all the advanced techniques they teach in flight school? Aisha closes her eyes. The secret she's kept buried for 10 years. Not just that she was a pilot, but that she was the pilot. The one whose innovations saved thousands of lives across multiple conflicts. Ghost Leader, Chen's voice joins in. The flight manual I studied at the academy. Your call sign is on half the technique patents. She can't deny it anymore. The evidence is there in black and white, classified files that Martinez has obviously been digging through. Yes, she says quietly. I developed most of the advanced flight techniques currently in use. The squadron channel explodes with whispers and exclamations. But Stephen's voice cuts through the noise, bitter and accusatory. Then why the hell have you been cleaning toilets for 10 years? The question hangs in the air like a bomb waiting to explode. This is the moment Aisha has been dreading, when she has to explain not just who she was, but why she walked away from it all. Because, she says, her voice steady despite the pain, Major Stevens here made sure my career ended the moment I refused to falsify reports that would have gotten good pilots killed. That's not, Stevens starts. Afghanistan 2014, Aisha continues, her voice gaining strength. You ordered me to sign off on faulty maintenance reports for F-16s that weren't airworthy. When I refused, you filed performance reviews claiming I was emotionally unstable and unsuitable for command. The squadron channel goes dead silent. You want to know the real story? I saved your life 3 times in combat, Marcus, including the day you got drunk before a mission and I had to fly your route as well as mine. But when Pentagon investigators started asking questions about maintenance irregularities, you threw me under the bus to save your own career. Martinez's voice comes through, carefully controlled. Major Stevens, is this accurate? Stevens doesn't answer immediately. When he finally speaks, his voice is defensive. There were complex factors at play. Johnson was always a loose cannon, always questioning orders. I questioned orders that would have killed people. Aisha's composure finally cracks. And you destroyed my career because I wouldn't let you cut corners that put pilots at risk. Rodriguez's voice is quiet but clear. Ma'am, what happened after the investigation? Aisha takes a shuddering breath. The Pentagon buried the whole thing to avoid scandal. Stevens got promoted. I got quietly forced out with a choice. Accept discharge with full benefits and stay silent or face court-martial on fabricated charges. So you chose your daughter, Chen says, understanding flooding his voice. I chose Maya. She was 2 years old and I was a single mother. I couldn't risk prison time or a dishonorable discharge. So I took the deal, moved to California, and found the only job I could get that let me stay close to aviation. The weight of 10 years of silence hangs heavy in the air. Then Martinez's voice comes through, filled with a new respect. Ma'am, for what it's worth, the Pentagon was wrong. Dead wrong. Control, Aisha says. We can discuss history later. Right now we have children to save. But Rodriguez isn't finished. Ma'am, there's something else in those files, isn't there? Something about your innovations being classified above our clearance level? Martinez hesitates. That's correct. What does that mean? Chen asks. Another pause from Martinez. Then, it means Ghost didn't just develop flight techniques. She developed flight techniques so advanced that they're still classified a decade later. Techniques that, according to these files, have been used to prevent 3 major international conflicts and save over 2,000 lives worldwide. The magnitude of what they're hearing settles over the squadron like a heavy blanket. They're not just flying with a disgraced former pilot. They're flying with the most innovative combat aviator of the modern era. Ma'am, Rodriguez says quietly, why didn't you ever fight back? Why didn't you tell people who you really were? Aisha looks out at the storm clouds gathering on the horizon, thinking of Maya growing up believing her mother was just a janitor. Because fighting back would have meant years of legal battles, media attention, and dragging my daughter through a public spectacle. I chose her peace over my pride. Stevens's voice comes through one final time, smaller now, defeated. Johnson, Aisha, Save it, Marcus. We'll settle our accounts after we save those children. Martinez's voice cuts through the tension. All aircraft final weather update. Hurricane Delta's eye wall will reach Edwards in 67 minutes. You are cleared for immediate takeoff. And Ghost Leader? Yes. Control? Give them hell, ma'am. Show that storm why they called you Ghost. As Aisha advances her throttles and feels the F-16's engines spool up to full power, she realizes something has fundamentally shifted. For 10 years, she's been hiding from who she was. But Maya and 42 other children don't need her to hide anymore. They need her to be exactly who she's always been, the best pilot who ever lived. Ghost Flight, this is Ghost Leader, she says into her radio, her voice carrying the authority that once commanded respect across 3 war zones. Time to remind everyone why they gave me that call sign. The 4 F-16s roll toward the runway as Hurricane Delta's outer bands begin to lash Edwards Air Force Base with the first taste of nature's fury. But nature is about to meet something even more dangerous: a mother fighting for her child. The four F-16s slice through Hurricane Delta's outer bands like bullets through tissue paper. At 25,000 feet, the storm below looks deceptively beautiful, a massive spiral of white clouds that conceals winds capable of destroying cities. "Ghost flight, maintain formation," Aisha commands, her voice steady despite the turbulence that's throwing her aircraft around like a toy. "We're about to enter the eye wall." Through her canopy, she can see Rodriguez's F-16 bouncing violently in the wind shear. Chen's aircraft disappears momentarily into a cloud bank, then emerges with ice forming on his wings. Even Stevens, for all his arrogance, is fighting to maintain control. "Ghost Leader, this is insane!" Rodriguez's voice cracks with strain. "I'm showing wind speeds of 190 knots. My instruments are going crazy." "Trust your training," Aisha replies. "And trust me. Ghost flight, prepare for atmospheric pressure manipulation in 3, 2, 1. Mark." She executes a maneuver that defies conventional aviation physics, using the hurricane's own pressure differentials to create pockets of calm air. Her F-16 seems to dance between wind cells, finding stability where none should exist. The other pilots follow her lead, their aircraft weaving through the storm like dancers following an impossible choreography. For a moment, it works perfectly. They're flying through Hurricane Delta at speeds that should be impossible. Then everything goes wrong. A massive downdraft catches Chen's aircraft, slamming him toward the ocean at 300 feet per second. "Mayday! Mayday! I've lost control!" "Chen, pull up! Full power!" Aisha banks hard left, abandoning formation to dive after him. "Ghost Leader, don't break formation," Stevens shouts. "You'll kill us all." But Aisha is already in the dive, her F-16 screaming downward at maximum velocity. She catches up to Chen's tumbling aircraft just 5,000 feet above the churning ocean. "Chen, listen to my voice. Stop fighting the aircraft. Let it fall, then power out on my mark." "I can't. The controls aren't responding." "Yes, they are. You're overcorrecting. Trust the physics. 3, 2, mark." Chen follows her instructions perfectly, and his F-16 levels out just 2,000 feet above the waves. Both aircraft climb back toward formation altitude, but precious time has been lost. "Ghost Leader!" Martinez's voice crackles through heavy static. "Edwards Elementary reports complete power failure. Building is flooding. You have maybe 2 hours before it becomes completely submerged." 2 hours. Maya and 42 other children trapped in rising water. "Copy control. Ghost flight, we're switching to emergency protocol. Maximum velocity, straight line to Travis Air Force Base." "Ma'am," Rodriguez's voice is tight with concern. "At these speeds, in these conditions, we don't have a choice. Those children are running out of time." Aisha pushes her throttles past the recommended limits, her F-16 accelerating to speeds that push the airframe to its breaking point. The other pilots follow suit, their formation cutting through the hurricane's heart like a spear. But Hurricane Delta isn't finished with them. The eye wall's inner edge hits like a solid wall of air moving at 200 miles per hour. Stevens's aircraft takes the worst of it, his F-16 flipping completely inverted before he manages to right it. "I'm hit!" Stevens calls out. "Lost my right engine. Hydraulics failing." Aisha's tactical mind immediately calculates the situation. Stevens's damaged aircraft is slowing them down, making it impossible to reach the children in time. The logical decision is clear: leave him behind. But Aisha isn't operating on logic anymore. She's operating on something deeper, the code that made her who she is. "Rodriguez, Chen, continue to Travis at maximum speed. Stevens, stay with me." "Ma'am, you can't—" Rodriguez starts. "That's an order. Those children need rescue helicopters launched from Travis immediately. Stevens and I will catch up." She banks toward Stevens's struggling aircraft, matching his reduced speed despite every instinct screaming at her to abandon the man who destroyed her life. "Johnson, what are you doing?" Stevens's voice is filled with confusion and something that might be shame. "What I should have done 10 years ago," Aisha replies, "saving your worthless life." She guides Stevens through emergency procedures using techniques she developed to keep damaged aircraft airborne. Together, they limp through the hurricane's trailing edge, two F-16s fighting physics and time itself. "Why?" Stevens asks as they finally break into clear sky. "After everything I did to you, why save me?" Aisha looks out at the California coastline appearing through the clouds ahead. "Because Maya is watching, and I want her to see what it means to be better than the people who hurt you." Travis Air Force Base appears on the horizon, its runways lit like beacons of hope. Rodriguez and Chen have already landed, and emergency crews are preparing rescue helicopters. But as Aisha guides Stevens's damaged aircraft toward the runway, her radio crackles with devastating news. "Ghost Leader, this is Travis Control. Edwards Elementary School is completely flooded. We're launching rescue helicopters immediately, but what?" "Ma'am, the children have moved to the school's upper floor. It's the only part still above water. Our helicopters can reach them, but the building's structure is compromised. We estimate 30 minutes before total collapse." 30 minutes. For 43 children trapped in a building that's about to collapse into floodwater. Aisha watches Stevens' F-16 touch down safely, then begins her own approach. But her mind is already racing ahead to the next phase of this mission. Because the aircraft evacuation was just the beginning. Now comes the part that will require everything she's learned in 10 years of hiding, 10 years of watching, 10 years of preparing for a moment exactly like this. "Travis Control, this is Ghost Leader requesting immediate helicopter assignment. I'm flying rescue." "Ma'am, you're not certified for helicopter operations in hurricane conditions." Aisha's lips curve into the first genuine smile she's worn in years. "Control, check your classified files again. I helped design the rescue protocols you're about to use." As her F-16 touches down on Travis's runway, Aisha is already unbuckling her harness. Maya and 42 other children are about to discover what happens when you threaten a ghost's family. The real fight is just beginning. 27 minutes later, Aisha pilots the rescue helicopter through hurricane winds that would ground any sane aviator. Below her, Edwards Elementary School sits like a broken island in a sea of floodwater, only its second floor visible above the churning brown surface. Through the aircraft's powerful searchlight, she can see small faces pressed against the upper windows, 43 children and their teachers, trapped as the building groans under the relentless assault of wind and water. "Ghost Leader, this is Travis Control," the radio crackles. "Structural engineers report the building has maybe 10 minutes before complete collapse. The water pressure is compromising the foundation." 10 minutes. 43 lives. "Copy, Control. Beginning rescue operations now." But as Aisha maneuvers the helicopter into position, she spots a familiar face in one of the windows. Maya, her 12-year-old daughter, helping younger children stay calm while water rises around their feet. For just a moment, Aisha's professional composure wavers. Her hands tremble on the controls as 10 years of fear and protection instincts flood through her. "Mom?" Maya's voice suddenly comes through the helicopter's external communication system. Someone inside has found an emergency radio. "Mom, is that you?" Aisha keys her microphone, her voice thick with emotion. "Yes, baby girl. Mommy's here. I'm going to get you all out." "I knew you'd come," Maya says with the absolute faith that only children possess. "I told everyone my mom was the best pilot in the world, even if she pretends to be a janitor." Through the helicopter's speakers, Aisha can hear other children's voices. "That's your mom? She flies helicopters too? Is she really a pilot?" Maya's reply makes Aisha's heart soar. "My mom can fly anything. She's been teaching me about aircraft my whole life. She just didn't know I was listening." The building shudders violently, and Aisha snaps back into mission mode. She executes a precision hover that should be impossible in these wind conditions, lowering the rescue basket to the school's roof access. One by one, children climb into the basket. Each lift takes precious seconds as the building sways and creaks beneath them. Aisha's hands never waver on the controls, despite wind gusts that throw the helicopter around like a toy. 15 rescued, she reports to Travis Control. 28 to go. The building lurches suddenly, its south wall beginning to buckle. Water pours through the first-floor windows with increasing force. Ghost Leader, get out of there, Travis Control shouts. The building's collapsing. Not without everyone, Aisha replies grimly, maintaining her hover despite the chaos below. Maya is in the last group of children. As the rescue basket rises toward the helicopter, she looks up at her mother with shining eyes. Mom, everyone at school is going to know you're a hero now. Aisha helps pull Maya into the helicopter, holding her daughter close for just a moment. No, baby girl. You're the hero. You kept everyone calm while I figured out how to reach you. As the last child is secured aboard, the elementary school finally surrenders to Hurricane Delta's fury. The building collapses into the floodwater with a tremendous roar, taking with it the last 10 years of Aisha's hidden life. 6 hours later, as the hurricane moves inland and Travis Air Force Base returns to normal operations, Aisha stands in Colonel Martinez's temporary office. Her flight suit has been replaced by civilian clothes, but something fundamental has changed in how she carries herself. Ma'am, Martinez says formally, on behalf of the United States Air Force, I want to apologize for the injustice you suffered. We've reviewed Major Stevens' files from Afghanistan and frankly we're appalled. Stevens, standing nearby with his arm in a sling from his aircraft damage, steps forward. Aisha, what I did was unforgivable. I let my pride and prejudice destroy the career of the best pilot I ever served with. Aisha studies his face, seeing genuine remorse for the first time in 10 years. Marcus, I'm not interested in your apology. I'm interested in making sure this never happens to another pilot. Martinez nods. Ma'am, the Pentagon is offering you full reinstatement with back pay and promotion to colonel. We'd like you to head up our new advanced flight training program. And if I refuse? Then you continue being the best damn janitor Edwards has ever seen. But either way, your innovations will be properly credited and your story will be told. Aisha looks out the window at Maya, who's animatedly describing the rescue to a group of other children, her hands moving in aircraft formations as she speaks. I'll consider the position, Aisha says finally. But Maya comes first. Always. Understood, ma'am. As they walk outside, Maya runs up to her mother, her face glowing with pride and excitement. Mom, Tommy's dad wants to interview you for the base newspaper, and Sarah's mom says you're going to be famous, and everyone wants to know if you'll teach them to fly. Aisha kneels down to Maya's level, taking her daughter's hands. Baby girl, what do you think about all this attention? Maya's response is immediate and firm. I think people should have listened to you 10 years ago, but I'm glad they're listening now. Aisha stands, looking out at the clear sky where Hurricane Delta once raged. For 10 years, she hid her light under a bushel, believing that staying small would keep her daughter safe. But today, 43 children are alive because she remembered who she really was. True talent can never stay hidden forever. It just waits for the right moment to soar. Share this story if you believe everyone deserves a second chance to show the world who they really are.